Everyone always says two-valve Mustangs are slow, but if you build them right, they can be a legit fast street car without ruining the drivability of them. And this is exactly how I would do it with the New Edge Mustang. What's a fast, quote-unquote, street car? What is fast? Okay, well, it's not going to be about peak horsepower. Everyone likes to claim that, oh, this car's street horsepower makes 700 horsepower, 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower. Peak horsepower means nothing for a street car. A street car is not what they call a dyno queen. Peak horsepower means nothing. The car is not made to be put on a dyno. It doesn't need to be dynoed all the time. Street cars are supposed to be just fun to drive as a weekend driver. Fun from stoplight pulls to getting on the highway pulls. Fun cars that are faster than a daily, which makes them a little bit less practical sometimes. But to be a good street car, they still have to start every day and reliably. Shouldn't have no issues trying to get them to start. They shouldn't be temperamental. They should hit the key, fire up every time. They need to run on pump gas. Otherwise, it's not really a good street car. Then it's more of a only get it out when going to certain locations that I know I can get gas. You can't just hop in and cruise wherever because you got to make sure you can get gas for it. So it has to be pump gas. And it has to be reliable yet. You can't just make a bunch of power but not be able to reliable enough to take it anywhere. To be afraid to take it on trips. To be afraid to take it like on Hot Rod Power Tour, for example. That's what the purpose of fun street cars are for. So that's the big point of a street car. And peak horsepower means nothing. And I keep saying that because nowadays everyone just focuses on peak horsepower. Like, oh, how much power are you pushing? And they always talk about horsepower. Being fast on the street, horsepower means nothing. It's all about the torque you have. So it matters. It's the torque you have and how you get it to the ground. So what matters is the torque, the rear gearing you have in your car, and how much traction your rear suspension can handle. Which we all know, New Edge Mustangs, actually Mustangs in general, they're all known for not having good traction and being called crowd killers because they kind of do suck in the traction department. But I'm going to go over how I would fix that. I already mentioned the whole traction department on how that's going to be a problem. But there are many other issues with the '01 Mustangs, or New Edge Mustangs for that matters, of the difficulties of the drawbacks of making these a street car, I guess would be the best way to put it, is that these two-valve engines from factory, at crank horsepower, is only 260. And transmission is going to take some of that. Your drive shaft, your rear gears, anything like that, friction-wise. There's so many things from the crank to where the tires hit the ground that is all taking power from you. So these were not very powerful cars from the get-go. The airflow on the intakes, the heads, they suck. They do not have very good airflow at all. So to make these cars even remotely feel fast, you have to be really high up in the RPM to pump a bunch of air through that motor because they do not flow very good at all. And to be quite honest, the Mustang itself is a heavy car compared to other sport cars, which I'm not sure how much it weighs off the top of my head, but I know it is a fairly heavy car. There are many lighter options out there. The Corvette is much, much lighter, mostly due to having a full fiberglass body. And that's one of the perks of having a Corvette. But I'm personally not a Corvette guy. I'm a Mustang guy, which is why I bought this. But there are huge drawbacks to it. And I already mentioned suspension in the rear. Traction's horrible. They're heavy cars. They don't make very good horsepower from the crank. The stock gears in this car make the thing feel really, really sluggish because they're built to try to have good fuel economy so they can meet emissions. There's so many weak points on these cars. But these are all issues that we can definitely solve and work through. And most of them are remotely pretty easy to fix, really. So most of these issues have pretty simple or easy fix to make. And this is where most people mess up on these things, is they think Mustangs are fast, which is, they can be made fast. But most are not fast out of the box from factory. And everyone gets their Mustangs and they just slap on the cheap, easy, bolt-on mods thinking it'll make your car fast. This is where 99% of people go wrong. A cold air intake by itself does nothing. People who put a cold air intake on and think they gained so much does nothing. A single part, 99% of the time, does not help that much. There are exceptions to this, but the combos matter way more. Like having a good intake and a good exhaust and a tune, those three things together will make way more power. It's all about combos. Every mod you do has to have something else that'll pair with it to build on top. Otherwise, you'd be throwing money down the drain and still having a slow car that a Chrysler 200 could beat, a Ford Fusion could beat it, a Chevy Cruze could beat it. Because the mods you're doing is not helping one another, it's actually hurting you. And not only do not selecting mods that compound on top of each other, not only does it actually not really help performance at all, sometimes makes your car slower, but the biggest thing to me is it's a waste of money. You put all that money into a car to get nothing out of it. Like, especially this car's an automatic, so especially on like this car, somebody, I did not do this, somebody has put a two-step on it, an MSD two-step, which serves no purpose on an automatic. I mean, you can neutral launch it, but that's so bad on the transmission that I would never do it, and I would never recommend it. Now, on a manual, yeah, you can kind of dump the clutch, and it's still hard on your clutch, but it's less hard on a clutch than it would be on a whole transmission. So, but even that, it's a launching mod. It's not really a mod to help you go faster unless you're taking this to a drag strip and reaction time and launch times really matter. We're going after something fun. So if the biggest thing going over your build plan is don't just buy parts and slap them on. This is one of the most key ideas and philosophy that I want you guys to understand in this video. Don't just buy parts and slap them on your car. Make a plan of what you're going to buy and make sure they work together. Otherwise, you'd be wasting money and get beat by a guy who has half as much money and have a way faster car. So, what mods would I do? And what mods compound together that you should do together? Aside from the ones I've already mentioned, which I'll go back over them. But the biggest mod I would make to a new Edge Mustang to really make a difference, and this is one of the mods that the exclusion complies that you can do it by itself, is the first thing I would do with a bone stock new Edge is put different rear gears in it. Because the one from factory are super tall and they're made for low RPM cruising on highway and city driving to try to get the fuel economy up so they could meet emissions. So the motor really struggles to get any kind of speed out of them. You put a set of, for an automatic, I would recommend 410s. My car has 411s in it, but 410s would probably be a little bit better for an automatic. I'd probably say 373s for a manual. Just the way manual transmissions work, I think 373s work out a lot better. And if you're going to do any mod in just one, that would be the most important mod I'd recommend. Yes, is it a pricey? Yeah, it's $300 to $400 at least just to buy the gears. And that's putting them in yourself. And labor on that, if you have to take it to a dealer to put them in, you're probably looking at $700 to $900 at least, minimum. So, yeah, that does eat up a lot of your budget. But I only paid $6,000 for this car the way it sits. Or I guess that's kind of false. I did put some money in the exhaust. But other than a couple exhaust work, I paid $6,000 for it, and the exhaust was fine. I just didn't like the way it sounded, so I changed it. So it is doable to build a good, fast street car on a budget for under $10,000. It is doable. Because the gears itself make the car feel 1,000 pounds lighter. And the rule of thumb is, for drag racing, there's kind of an old saying, that's kind of the rule of thumb, that every 100 pounds you take off your car is 1/10 of a second. And rear gears isn't taking any weight off of the car, but it makes it feel 1,000 pounds lighter just the way it accelerates. So I'm going to guess that you take almost a full second off with just the gears. And it really does feel that way. It really does. The acceleration changes so much. Aside from that, the next thing I would do is focus on a catback exhaust, an intake, and a handheld tuner. Probably like the SCT4. That'd probably be the best bet for a cheap, good scanner. Or not scanner. I guess it is a scanner and a tuner. But definitely a good tune. But once again, if you just do the intake without a tune, you're pretty much doing nothing. If you just do an exhaust without a tune, you're pretty much doing nothing. If you do the tune without doing the other things, you're pretty much wasting money. You do all three and then you tune it, or I guess intake, gears, and exhaust, and then you tune it, that is your best bang for your buck. And that would be the top three right there. Well, I guess top two, because I would lump tuning, intake, and exhaust into your second modification I would do. Now that you have way better acceleration and you're making probably a good chunk of more horsepower, probably a good 30 to 40 more horsepower from just the intake, exhaust, and a tune. If not more, you're probably looking at 300 to 320 horsepower at the crank. Traction is going to be a real struggle with you. A real struggle. So the next thing I would do is I'd get a good set of nice sticky drag radials for the car. I'd get better lower control arms for the rear axle that are way stiffer, and I would get subframe connectors and subframe braces. And they're supposed to be welded on. So if you know how to weld, you could definitely weld that on yourself, but you want to make sure that you have nice, good welds and be careful not to catch your car on fire. But if you don't know how to weld or you don't trust it, I would recommend having them professionally weld it. And I don't have subframe connectors on this car, and I don't have drag radials on this car. So those are two of my next upgrades. I'm putting subframe connectors on this, drag radials, and I got to get it tuned yet. So just to sum this up, I would recommend doing the gears very first thing. Gears, most important, best bang for your buck, changes how the car feels completely. Like, unimaginably. So, gears. Next up, intake, exhaust, tune. Best power increase you're going to get for the bang for the buck. Number 3, definitely stickier rear tires. So drag radials would be my solid number 3. Lower control arms. Those and the subframe connectors are kind of tied for 4th. Because the lower control arms only really help for wheel hop when launching hard or during burnouts, which burnouts are kind of illegal on the street. Not saying they're not fun, but it's kind of illegal to do. And launching your car hard, I've never had a problem launching this car without wheel hop. So, now I don't have mine tuned. I don't have drag radials. When you have stickier tires, that will be a problem. So if you can put drag radials on it, and if you have a problem with wheel hop, you can just save up and put the lower control arms on. They're not that much. Now, that I would say those would be my top 4, technically 5, but 2 are tied for 4th. But those are my top 5 recommendations to do mod a car to make it a good, fast, reliable street car. But there are some things that I would definitely not do. The first biggest thing I would not do is put an eBay turbo kit on this thing. I get ads for these all the time because I like Mustangs, and a lot of my feeds on social media are Mustangs. And I get ads from eBay turbo kits that are like stupidly cheap. Those are a gimmick. They might make more power for like the first week, but I promise you, you will break something or the turbo itself will fail and you'll pump all that junk from the turbo into your engine and destroy your engine. I would not do it. That is one of the worst ways to waste money and ruin your car. The next thing I wouldn't do is put giant cams in it. Because no matter what you do putting cams in it, to really use those for the peak efficiency, you're going to have to put so much money into it. And not only that, to do the cams in the first place is already a lot of money. With these being a 4-cam system, one for exhaust, one for intake on both banks, you're already putting 4 cams in it. And that's a job that 90% of people who own Mustangs can't do that themselves. It is a big job. It is a hard job. And if you do it wrong, you will blow up your motor. The next thing I would say that I would definitely not do is I'm just kind of going to lump all these in one group. And it's any part that is for high RPM, high peak horsepower. Because 90% of those parts kill low torque. And the way these 2-valve engines are is low end torque is your friend. It is the only way these cars are fast. If you kill that, you can put as much money in those parts that make high horsepower, high peak horsepower, but your car will still be slow because that's not going to matter with these cars. It is a heavy car. You're going to need the torque to get this thing moving. And with it only having 260 horsepower stock, even with the upgrades I've already mentioned, you're probably only going to get up to 320. So if you kill any of that torque, your car will be slow. If you help the torque out by gearing it and tuning it, this has very good potential. So I would not do any parts that kill torque. So I'll run back through that list for you of what I would definitely not do. No turbo kits. No cheap China things that promise you 100 horsepower. That's right there. If it's cheap and it promises you really big results, do not do it. Big cams. Do not do that. That is such a waste of money because it is not worth it. I forgot to mention this, but my number 4 would say I would not do is do not put shorty headers on this thing. It is not worth it. The money you spend to do it and the gains you get are not worth it. To put headers in these cars, you have to drop the cradle, which once again, 90% of people can't do that, and that is going to be an expensive shop bill. Number 5, no parts that kill low-end torque, because that'll make your car slower. It'll not help. So those are the biggest things I would stay away from. So in conclusion, if you do all the mods that we talked about, you're likely to make about 320 at the crank. But with the gearing, it'll probably feel like more like 350 wheel, which isn't a lot compared to newer cars. But it feels like 350, which that is like such a fun amount to be a reliable but fun. 300 is fun taking off from stoplight to stoplight. 300 is fun getting on an on-ramp to interstate. And the most important thing for the fun of it wise is it's reliable. You can get gas wherever. You can just be out cruising with buddies. You need to get gas. You don't have to go to a certain gas station to get gas. It's pump gas. Every gas station has pump gas. You may not have 93 or 94, but depends how you tune it. If you tune it on 87, and most gas stations do have 93. Like, I have not gone to a gas station in my entire life that doesn't have 93. Now, I've seen some that have 94, but everyone's had 93. So, it's reliable. It's fun. It's no more maintenance than a regular car would be. You just have to do your regular maintenance. Although, you may go through tires a little faster because it is a Mustang. You know how that is. So, that is exactly how I'd build a New Edge Mustang if I had one. If you guys have a New Edge Mustang, comment down below what kind of setup you guys are running. What mods do you have? What mods would you recommend that I didn't even mention in this video? Because there was a ton of mods I didn't even cover And let me know even what like cosmetic mods you've done. Have you switched out the headlights? I know some people don't like the yellow and the headlights right there. They like the all clear. So let me know what kind of cosmetic mods you guys are having. I'd love to know. So please comment down below your setup if you have a new Edge Mustang, any mod you've done, cosmetic or performance. Comment down below and let me know, and I'll be sure to check it out. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.